Midnight Drearies.
The following story is fiction and contains political satire. No congresspersons were injured during its making. It was a chilly autumn night when Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead the living skeleton arrived in Denver, Colorado. He had been touring the country with his one-man freak show, delighting audiences with his bizarre and inexplicable existence. He was a man who had died but continued to live, a walking, talking skeleton. No one knew his name, and no one knew how it was possible, but he had become a sensation on talk shows, YouTube podcasts, and social media. He said, "You can call me Phone or Phony, or Bone, or Bonehead." Mr. Bonehead was an enigma, a mystery that captivated the public's imagination. He had become a cult figure, and his freak show was the hottest ticket in town. People from all over the country came to see him perform, and his fame continued to grow. But Denver was different. It was Colorado's 3rd Congressional District, home to Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, a vocal opponent of anything she deemed an abomination unto God. Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead was her latest target. She had railed against him on social media, calling him a blasphemy, a freak, a minion of the devil, and a danger to society. On the night of his performance in Denver, Phony sensed something was different. He could feel the tension in the air, the hostility and hatred that had been building since he arrived in town. But he brushed it off, telling himself that it was just nerves, that he had faced worse than this before. He wasn't going to let some Christian extremist get him down. The freak show began, and the audience was enthralled. Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead performed his usual acts, showing off his skeletal body and demonstrating his ability to move and speak despite being dead. He chewed up light bulbs and did the traditional blockhead trick of hammering nails into his head through the nasal cavity. The crowd cheered, and the atmosphere was electric. The one stunt he refused to do was the whole walking on hot coals thing. His dried-up corpse flesh did not pair well with burning stones. But then, without warning, the mood changed. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert appeared on stage, flanked by a mob of religious zealots. They brandished signs and shouted slogans, calling for Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead's head. The audience was stunned, and Phony froze in fear. He had never seen anything like this before. He had always been welcomed with open arms, embraced as a curiosity, a marvel of science and nature. But now, he was confronted with something else entirely, something dark and dangerous. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert advanced towards him, her face twisted with anger and hatred. She raised her hand, and Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead flinched, expecting the worst. But then, something incredible happened. His skeletal body began to glow, emitting a bright, ethereal light that enveloped the entire stage and sparkled with tiny motes of ectoplasm. The audience gasped, and the mob of Christian terrorists recoiled in fear. The hateful God Squad, including Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, were all permanently blinded by the glimmering light. But no one in the audience was negatively affected at all. Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead felt a surge of power, a rush of energy that filled him with renewed life. He knew then that he was not just a freak, not just a curiosity, but something much more. With a triumphant cry, Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead leapt into the air, defying gravity and soaring towards the heavens. The audience watched in awe as he burst through the ceiling above the stage and vanished into the night sky, leaving behind a trail of shimmering stardust. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert and her mob of religious extremists were left stunned and humiliated as they crawled along the floor, off the stage, and up the aisles, their hatred and intolerance exposed for all to see. People in the audience took turns kicking them in the butt and recording them with their phones for social media. Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead had triumphed, not just over them, but over death itself. He had shown that he was more than a mere skeleton, more than a sideshow oddity. He was a symbol of hope, of resilience, and of the eternal mystery of life itself. The news of Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead's triumphant egress, exit stage up, had spread like wildfire, and people all over the world began to take notice. His story was told and retold, passed down from generation to generation, becoming a legend in its own right. Many people began to see Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead as a symbol of hope and resilience, an embodiment of the human spirit's ability to overcome even the greatest of challenges. They saw him as a reminder that life is a precious and mysterious thing, and that even in the face of death, there is always the possibility of new beginnings and unexpected miracles. In the years that followed, Mr. Phony Baloney Bonehead's story continued to inspire people. His image was printed on t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise, and his catchphrases became part of the cultural lexicon. People began to dress up as him for Halloween, and his name became synonymous with the macabre and the strange. One horror host even took up the mantle as Bonehead Jr. But for those who truly understood his story, Phony was much more than just a Halloween costume or a catchphrase. He was a testament to the resilience and enduring spirit of humanity. His story became a part of the cultural fabric, a reminder of the strange and wonderful things that can happen in this world, and the incredible power that rests inside all of us. And Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, that vile cunt, died mysteriously during a lesbian orgy at Big Richard's gay sex club. All the world rejoiced.